Aotearoa, no mai haramai, Sweet Chain Live, call Matt Drake, takwanawa. Good evening, everyone. My name is Matt Drake. You're through to episode 35 of Sweet Chain Live, and we've got a great show for you tonight. We've got a few things to go through from previous episodes, as we spoke about last week. Also, we want to have a little bit of a conversation about something I said last week, which has now turned out to be something a little bit silly, but we'll get to that shortly. We've also got a ratings update and some upcoming events. But also welcome, Jack.
Hey, good evening. Yeah, back again.
How are you? You've had a good week?
Busy week. Yeah, but yeah, good week for sure.
Fantastic. Look, alongside today, we mentioned in previous week's shows that we were going to talk about anything that you'd left in the comments from previous shows, and we've been through a bit of a scour and found a few things that we want to talk about. But if there's anything that you want to ask, this is an Ask Me Anything episode. So pop your question in the comments down below, and then me and Jack will get to it a little bit later on in the show. So if you've got anything you want to know about Sweet Chain or disc golf or the podcast or behind the scenes or anything that we've talked about, pop it in the comments below and we'll try and get to it. There isn't any subject that's too curly. Me and Jack will do our best to negotiate the spikier ones. Okay, here we go. So first up, we're going to go through some hot scores. So starting off down south at Invercargill, and it's Ethan Stout who's been out and about at Queen's Park in Invercargill with a 15 under par. Very well done, Ethan. And at Chingford, Tom McKay shoots a 7 down hot round in Dunedin. Across to Queenstown Gardens, and it's Peter McKay who shoots 11 under par at the on the Gardens course there. And up at Ely Point, Cooper Solis, Dom Hayden, and Cameron Mackey all share a 2 under par. Across to Lismore, and Cooper Solis has been doing it again with Ryan Cambridge joining him this time on 11 under par. And across to Christchurch, where of course the Charteris Bay Charge is being held this weekend, there's Jeremy Brockenshire on 12 under. At Jelly Park. At Queen's Park Reserve, Louis Stridham and Willie Taratana shoot the hot round with 6 under. And at Brooker Ave, Louis Clark, new name for Sweet Chain Live, shoots 6 under par. So well done to Louis. Heading up to the North Island, Jack.
To the bottom of the North Island, over at Berhampore in the capital, we have Brady Cush scoring at a -8. On the Sunday league round, which was quite a blustery day, so that's a significant score. Over to Hikoikoi, we've got Diana Rawiri on -2, -2, which is a great score as well. Over to Harcourt and Upper Hutt, Andy Davey scoring at -5. -4. Just fantastic scores all around so far in the capital. This is fantastic. This is a great start. Popping over to the west side in Inglewood. In New Plymouth, Conor McKinstry shoots a -5. Fantastic stuff. Massive course. That's a big day. And then over to Spa Park in Taupo, Jacob Smith finishes on a 2 over. Fantastic stuff.
Excellent. So some good scores coming through there as people starting to get back into disc golf. Auckland, we're in. You're in our thoughts. We hope that you can. We hope that you can get out of your lockdown pretty soon and get back to playing. Quickly going to pop across to the Struggle Street Meltdown, which restarted this last Saturday after a lockdown hiatus. Something which didn't change over the missing weeks. Was Morgan Hartfeld leading the way, as he did last week with a 961 rated 7 under par, closely followed by Hemi and Malcolm with 948, 6 down. So yeah, I mean that's fantastic work from Morgan. Always good to see the guys out in Struggle Street having a great time as well. Right, Jack. Let's pop across. We had some missed comments from previous rounds that we'd like to redress. Take us through some.
Yeah, well, I went for a scour, like you said before, just through the previous some of the previous episodes to see if there's anything that might have been interesting to bring up again that we just didn't get a chance to talk about. Last week specifically, I got to have a couple. One from Mike Foley, who asked, "What's the science on catching COVID off a basket? Like, how long does the virus live on steel in an outside environment?" And uh, I responded saying, "That's a good question. I'm going to have a look at that and get back to it in a later episode." Now it's a later episode. So, there was a study done. Basically, it's just I get the question, especially coming from an Aucklander who's just a disc golfer who doesn't want to stop playing, for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah. So from a study that was done um, April last year, just pertaining to the lifespan of the virus on different surfaces, ranging from cardboard to copper. Specifically they did stainless steel, so I'm not really sure what the differences are between stainless steel and galvanized steel, which is what we use for our golf baskets here. But on stainless steel, they found that the virus was detectable up to 72 hours later, so
Oh, wow.
up to 3 days really on alive, staying alive on the surface of the basket. So relatively dangerous, honestly. So 3 days is quite a long time for a bacteria to
Mm.
stick around and to cause harm. So in terms of catching it off the basket, I mean, the we know that it's spread through the air, through droplets, through stuff like that. So, but even contact off of things, so it'll transfer very easily. So I think in terms of whether or not, maybe kind of expanding on the question or extrapolating from the question, whether or not playing disc golf is will help not contract the virus, I think the answer is yes. Unfortunately. So it's just safer for everyone during those kind of extreme times of spreading that disc golf is just off the charts or off the um, agenda for for playing. So
Yeah, no, and I'd echo that. I think that the recommendation certainly we're giving here from Sweet Chain is the is level 3 and 4. Don't do it. Stick to your home basket and field work. And in level 2, be careful. Stay apart. Use your own discs and just take care. Okay, what else you got?
Well, it's from last week as well, during our small discussion at the very end of the show about disc golf clothing and how horrendous it is. Aaron Go asked, is there anything particularly unique about disc golf clothing? And I was having to think about this, and honestly, no, I don't think so. From seeing what everyone wears, what the professionals wears, and what the professionals wear, and what's available to buy, it's standard stuff. You've got your active wear, you've got your cotton, your polyester. Like, I don't think there's anything particularly unique about it, but it's just more of the design, I suppose. Just what are you going to put on the shirt? What's going to make you look nice on the golf course?
Hmm. So it's interesting because I think there was a rule change very recently, which said that for certain tiers, certainly majors and elite series, and maybe A tiers as well, that collars were mandatory
Oh,
as part of the wear. Now, obviously, in your social rounds and your B and C tiers, perhaps not. And I've got to check this. If anybody can help us out and you know the rules, then drop it in the comments. I was under the impression that I think it was a rule that you had to wear a collared shirt for A tiers and above, but the rule change came into effect, which allowed more kind of active wear. Ugh, I hate that phrase. Kind of shirts to be okay and to be used. So
right, yeah.
that'd be the only comment I'd have on that one. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's something I'd
So
have
I
to check.
suppose that would fall under the competition manual rather than disc golf rules.
Yeah, likely it'd be the competition manual.
Mm.
And so yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I know there was a Bray's saying that maybe that AT has been collared for a while, and that's in line with what I expected as well. I just trying to think if that's a lot of the pros I've seen do have the collared shirts. So even if the pattern's a bit outrageous.
All players must wear a shirt covering their upper chest area. A well-tailored shirt with a collar and sleeves covering the upper arm shall be considered acceptable. Tank tops are not allowed for any competitor, but women may wear sleeveless shirts with collars.
There we go.
On the website, Katrina Allen is seen there wearing a sleeveless shirt with a collar.
There we go. So okay, there we are, Aaron. So hopefully we've cleared that up to some degree. Excellent. What else we got?
Yeah, well then a few weeks ago, I think you and Andy were having a conversation about rules and the application of rules, or the administering of rules, and just whether or not it should be for future games and going forward, whether or not it should be left up to the consensus of the card to decide what's right, and what gets a foul, what gets a stroke, and what gets a penalty. And I can't exactly remember what Andy's stance on it was, but I know that your stance was that, coming from Ultimate was your example. There's a very big belief in the spirit of the game and the spirit of play, where and just keeping it as a self-officiated sport, which it works on smaller levels. For regional competitions and local stuff, it's not a big deal not having umpires and ushers and marshals on the course and on the field helping. But I think when you're getting to these big competitions, and where you've got literally thousands of people playing, not at the same course, of course, but over the same weekend, and thousands of spectators coming along and watching. In terms of just keeping the flow of play, I honestly think that at pointing marshals to follow cards around and be on, or to be on holes to follow cards around, is going to be the way to go for the future of disc golf. I'm coming at this from the perspective of Ultimate as well. I firmly believe in self-officiating, but when it comes to a world stage and live events and world games, and specifically the world games, and also the Olympics, it just doesn't work without having marshals or umpires on the field dictating the sport. So
do you see them? Sorry to interrupt. Do you see them as a making a decision role, or a aiding in the making of a decision role?
I see them as making the decision. I see them as making the decision. So when something crops up, like making the decision, but not calling the foul or calling the incident. So that's up to the card mate still, I think, to call that incident. But then the actual ruling will be down to the marshal, to the official. That's because it just removes that possibility of the card mates not knowing, because all it takes is the majority of your card to make the wrong decision, and then you're either penalized or you're not penalized when you should have been or shouldn't have been. So
I think it's an interesting one, because I think self-officiating is great, and actually it works better than when there's officials making the call, when it's things like foot faults and when it's things like courtesy violations. Because I think, and if a marshal or a tournament staff, call it whatever you like, somebody acting in an official capacity, was to, for example, call a courtesy violation during, and it doesn't matter what round it is, or where it's seen, whether it's some C tier that's played at the back end of nowhere that half dozen people go to, or whether it's at Worlds. I don't really care. I think that could possibly be quite contentious, and where the advantages of having a self-officiated aspect of the game come in. As for calling things like out of bounds and that kind of thing, I see them as a making and advising. I see the point in having spotters and etc. But to kind of go, well, that's where the disc went out of bounds. And just like Ultimate, you know, if you were unsure on whether you landed in or not, for example, you might ask a sideline person to say, look, where do you think it landed? And that's a perfectly legitimate thing to do before the players then make the decision. So yeah, it's an interesting one. Interesting one. I'm not sure we'll see any change from the norm right now, but
no, I don't think so either. Honestly, because it's kind of working. But from just another thing from Ultimate is, you know, I think, and this is because of them being recognized by the International Olympic Committee and wanting to push forward in the sport and making it a live sport that can be recognized worldwide. They in some or under WIFDF rules and WIFDF competitions, they've established advisors, or sorry, observers, who can be there as a second, or you know, an unbiased set of eyes on the situation at hand. And then they can offer their opinion, but it's still up to the people on the field to make the call. And then in games like the American Ultimate Disc League and the Major League Ultimate in the US, you've got advisors who are marshals and who are people that make the calls.
Call in and outs and call fouls and contacts.
Points, everything. Fouls, everything. So and watching those sports specifically that have those ushers and marshals and such, the game still flows. It still works as intended. But I think just in terms of having it on a world stage, it looks more official. You know, you don't get many sports, i.e. football, ball golf or just golf, that don't have referees calling the game and calling the shots. And I think there's a reason for that. And it's just for the professional look of it, but also just to expand the game and make sure that everyone's playing to the same rules.
Yeah, no, it's something that I can make an argument pretty convincingly for both sides on this. So it's something that I would kind of agree with a lot of people on, and one that I'm interested to see how it progresses and what comes out of it. Right, next up, do we want to go to? I made a comment last week, and the comment I made was around when we were talking about collector discs, and do you collect discs or do you not? Are you one of these? And you told us that you prefer to just, you've got your bag, you've got a few backups, and maybe you've got a few that you used to throw recently, but you know, you haven't moved on yet. But other than that, that's pretty much it. You've got one disc, a commemorative disc from when you won a tournament a few years ago, and that's it pretty much. That's pretty much. And I'm the opposite. I went a different way, and we were talking, and I made a comment that the New Zealand second-hand market wasn't as mature as the US market, for example. Now, I stand by that comment. However, I will say that in the last week alone, we have seen at least, I would say, 3 or 4 posts of discs going for perhaps more than we've seen in the past. Certainly there was a Cloudbreaker that went for $185, I think, a Skyrider that I think went for upwards of $100. So, Jack, what's going on?
I honestly don't know. Surely it's coincidence that the week, the week after we talk about this, the secondhand market in New Zealand just kind of blows up. People, I don't know. It's just the market's right. People are looking. One name in particular, that I can't think of the name of right now. Fraser Harvey, making just a big collection of Discmania discs, and he's on the hunt. He's absolutely on the hunt, and the guy is committed. And you know, when you see dedication like that, you kind of got to give it credit. So fair enough. As much as it's against what I believe is the correct way of playing the sport, I don't know. You know, fair enough. But yeah, when you got people like that are just really adamant and really need or want a specific thing from the sport, it's going to make the market's going to grow. The market's
And
going to grow.
I think it's fantastic to see that that there's people out there with that level of passion. So
Yeah.
hats off. We've had a few comments on this. Bray's offering me 240 for a cloud breaker, so
Yeah.
we shall see. Levi, I'll give you $10 and a form critique, and I'm not sure whether Levi's form critique is going to be worth about $200. It probably is actually, and we'll get to why in a minute. Actually, when we go through the ratings update, as we'll see. So let's have a look at some of the comments. We've had a few questions come through already on the Ask Me Anything. We're going to continue this the whole show. So if you ask me anything, Jack Ryan asks, left or right?
That's a response to
I think it might have been, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going right, by the way. But Bray's asked, Matt and Jack, what has been a couple of your best experiences in the New Zealand disc golf scene?
Yeah. Well, do you have any in mind?
I've got a couple. Do you want to go first?
Well,
you
I
want?
think that the first and foremost, best experiences. I mean, this is open to interpretation, but one of the best things I've done was final round of Middle Earth Open.
Remember
Just absolutely sending my Page PS 5x nuke down to just outside circle, or probably in circle 2, just outside circle 2 maybe for an eagle look. That was exhilarating, just watching that fly and seeing that in the replay as well, on the footage. That was quite a proud moment for me.
That was a great moment. I was in the gallery, and I was fortunate enough to commentate on that round as well. So if you missed it, go to the Flexline media page and watch the second round of the final round, of the Middle Earth Open coverage.
Yeah.
For me, there's been a couple. So one of my favorite experiences was going to play North Island Champs last year. A really, really good weekend. That the result was the result. I finished mid-table in the advanced division. Is nothing. No one's going to remember that. But it was more that it was kind of my first kind of big tournament away, and it was I learned heaps from it. And I think I came away a far better disc golfer as a result. And of course, there were heaps of people there, and I got to meet loads of people that I might not otherwise have met if I'd not got a chance to go. So that's one of my favourites. I'll add another one in, which was the start of and the continuation of the Wellington Ladies League that we kicked off last year in October. Yes. That was great, because the scene in Wellington now for ladies is a lot bigger than it was. And I hope that the Ladies League had an influence in that. And certainly when we held the Women's Global event here in May, that was the largest attended women's event in New Zealand history for a sanctioned event. So that, those things were great. And I think, people talk about growth of the game. That's one of the areas that I see as being a key part. Yeah. So, any other ones jump to mind?
Not another one specifically, but just my disc golf competition experience in general has been immaculate. Honestly, so starting off in Ultimate and coming from Ultimate to disc golf, I was able to make so many comparisons and find so many similarities between the people that play both sports. It's ridiculous. Yeah. They're almost the same people. The type of people that play Ultimate and the type of and competitions in Ultimate and the type of people that play competitions in disc golf, they're just all beautiful people, honestly. I couldn't say enough on how happy and just dedicated to the sport and growing the sport and making sure everyone is having a good time. It's very special. It's
I
very
completely agree. I completely agree. You know, everybody who turns up to the social rounds, to the tournaments I've played in, has been great. I've been in the sport for a relatively short amount of time, so it's that's been fantastic. I'd agree, completely agree with that. Looking down the comments, Bray asks, "Can you frontline and Desert Island disc golf yourself?" Yes, we will. I will get to that one day. Maybe on a milestone episode, we'll do that. And yeah, so moving on, we'll get to the ratings update, which came out on Tuesday, just gone. Now, in terms of the ratings update, there's been a bit of movement within the men's within the MPO side. We'll go through those in a second, and then I wanted to talk about very quickly the UDisc World Rankings, which we'll have a quick chat about. And if anyone's got some views on this, that it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts on this as well. So in the MPO side, Jackson Sullivan stays top in New Zealand with a 990 rating. That's unchanged. In second place, moving up five places to second with an 11-point rating increase is Levi Stout to 985. So that $10 plus some form critique could well be a bargain if anybody was that. And as in third place, Simon Feasy stays the same on 980. Ethan Stout sees a slight ratings drop of 4 points to 980. Conor McKinstry jumped 7 points to 978 to take fifth. Andy Davey stays on 975. David Keane drops 1 point to 973. Mikey Hughes up to 972. Mark Dakiv stays still on 970, and a new face in the top 10 is Ryan Cambridge, jumping 5 points to 966. So a little bit of movement there, with lots of tournaments coming up and the start of the kind of summer season, if you like. We shall see how we get on and see what movements we see there. Over in the FPO side, only one movement this time, and it was very, very small, but I'll run through the top 10 anyway. Hayley Flintoff went up 1 point to 891, extends her lead over Leanna Christina by 6 points, who's on 885. Gemma Sullivan, 876. Bonnie O'Neill, 873. Charlotte Dunkley, 861. Eilish Kumak, 846. Michelle Simpson, 845. Liz Mocker, 843. And then Melody Ripley and Alina Fuller on 836. Now, I don't know if you've had a look at the UDisc World Rankings.
Very quick look.
Yeah, so I don't know if anyone in the comments has read this, but I've done a little bit of digging and research on this. This is something that was launched by UDisc about a month or so ago, I want to say, maybe 6 weeks. And it attempts to provide a live and post-competition, so it gets updated at the end of every event, world rankings. Now, you might ask, well, how's that different to a rating? And the difference that it is from a rating is that, as far as I can see, and this summary might not be quite correct, but you'll have to bear with me. The PDGA rating is a number rating that is where you compare yourself to a scratch or 1,000 rated fictitious player. So essentially, you're playing the course on a particular day in particular conditions, and your rating is based on compared to that. The UDisc World Rankings work slightly differently, as in it compares how you performed against other people. It doesn't care about the score. You could beat them by 20 strokes. You could beat them by 1 stroke. The fact that you finished above them is going to change your rating, and therefore then your ranking. Now, the rating system works in a similar way to how chess players are rated. So the chess players, and apologies if you switch off at this point because I'm going on a nerd alert, then I understand. Chess is rated on an ELO system by a chap whose name was Mr. ELO, and he developed the system where everybody gets a ranking. You start off at 1500, and then you play people. And if you play somebody of a higher rating than you and you beat them, then your rating will go up more than if you play a player who have a lower rating than you and you beat them. The principle is that every time you win, your rating goes up, even if it's by only 1 point because you beat someone who's rubbish, or you goes up by 1,000 points because you beat someone who's really good. The same kind of idea is happening in disc golf, in the UDisc World Rankings. So the UDisc World Rankings are based on a rating which predicts how someone will finish in the following event. And it then says, well, where did that person finish in comparison to that event, and give them the amount of points that they deserve based on the differential. Okay. So if you go into the event with the highest rating of everybody who's competing, then you should win. And if you don't win, your rating will increase still because you won, but it won't increase by a lot because you were supposed to win, right? Compare it to somebody who was supposed to finish 10th, for example, and they win, their rating's going to go up by a lot. And so it compares where you do finish against where you should finish. Now, the UDisc World Rankings predict with an accuracy of predict the winner of each tournament with an accuracy of about, on the MPO side, it's about 35-40%, I think, and on the FPO side, it's about 55-60%. They predict top half, to a accuracy level of about 70%, and it's similar for the top 10%. So yeah, anyway, the reason I say this is because in a few weeks' time, we're going to have a feature on the show. What the data analytics team here at Sweet J Music have been telling me that they've been working through applying the UDisc algorithm, the UDisc World Rankings algorithm, to New Zealand tournaments and to New Zealand people, right? So we should be able to get a World Rankings, New Zealand rankings, using the UDisc algorithm, tweaked slightly in the ways that UDisc have advised that they've gone about their tweaking to match the New Zealand market. And then that will give us give you an idea that going into tournaments, who you think is going to win. And it acts as a bit of a predictor. And what it does is, over a rating, a PDGA rating, it gives you a predicted outcome of the tournament that's a quantitative one. So it will say there's a 23% chance that Jack's going to win this tournament, right? So, and Morgan's asked, what does it say is going to win this weekend? Well, actually, it's interesting because I asked my data analytics team for a bit of a preview of what results are going to be spat out for this weekend. Now, they tell me that there's still some tweaking to be done. There's still some fine tuning to happen on the model, but they've got an idea of what might happen this weekend at the Charteris Charge. So, but before we do that, Jack, what are your picks for the Charge this weekend?
For the Charge, oh my gosh. Yeah, it's honestly, it's quite a big field, and especially in the men's open, it's a tough pick. On my top 5, and I don't want to say this is in any particular order, just because honestly, it could go any way. I wish I had something that could help me predict, who's going to be on top. But anyway, in my top 5, I have chosen Willie Taratana, because it's a big course. It's a big open course, and I know the guy can throw a mile. Mitch Hudson and Zach Taylor, for the same reason. All three of those guys work hard. They work hard from the sport. And then I've put Johnny Ferrari in there because I know that he plays like a monster as well. Absolutely fantastic game. And I could not decide between several people for my 5th pick, so I've just went for the highest rated player, Joseph Berry.
Excellent. And again, not necessarily a bad way to do it. PDGA ratings are affected in part by the number of tournaments. So if you have an absolute storm, and we saw this a few weeks or a few months ago, Marvin Tetzel in Germany played one tournament I think it was, had a tournament average of 1050 rated and was like, for a brief period of time, like the 5th highest rated player in the world.
Wow.
Is he the 5th best player in the world? Some would argue not. And after the first round of the European Open, actually, he shot like a 1050 round, and everybody goes, oh, perhaps it is legit. Followed that up with a few 980 rated rounds, and so that dropped. Yeah,
then,
okay.
Yeah, on the FPO side, or just the female side, I've gone with Eilish Kumak because I've seen her play and she's incredible. Just when she gets it right, oh my gosh, it's the disc flights that she produces are amazing. And then my second pick would be Stephanie Stratton.
Excellent. I'm gonna go. I'll start with the ladies. I've gone for the same picks as you. I think Eilish. I think will take it out this weekend. I've seen her play as well. She came up to Wellington for the women's global event and played very well in the second round there. And yeah, has got distance. And I think when the charge looks like it could be exposed. There could be a bit of wind about. The weather this weekend is looking. I don't know what it's like in Christchurch. In Wellington, there's certainly going to be a bit of wind and a bit of rain about. So I think that her play suits that style of weather perhaps more. Now, looking at the men's side, this is what the data analytics team have given me as being the top 5. Now, this is based on a raw algorithm. Okay, it doesn't take into account some of the. It needs a bit of tweaking, as they said, and it's based on an algorithm of rankings. So in 5th place, Isaac Howard is in 5th place. Young chap from Christchurch. Has been playing really well that I've been seeing recently, and he's a very, very good up and comer, and he's so dedicated to practice and getting out there. So it was 5th place for Isaac Howard. 4th place is a fellow Christchurchian. I don't know. Willie Tratner is in 4th place. Willie plays very well, often in Christchurch. Took out the Peter Crowther crown for the Christchurch-based players earlier on this year. 3rd place, Johnny Ferrari. Again, as you've identified, came up. Has got a very good game coming up from Invercargill. 2nd place, maybe a little bit of a surprise for some, is Jimmy Tutufu. So this is going to be interesting. Placed very well at nationals, and that's perhaps affected his ranking and therefore his position there. Interesting. And in 1st place, Stephen Reed has is I think the pick to win it. Has had 6 had a look 6 top 10 finishes, and obviously one in Timaru earlier on this year as well. So that's the top 5 for me. Stephen Reed taking out the title this weekend. So we'll see how that goes and how well the algorithm does. At the moment, it's predicting winners about 50% of the time, and it's predicting top 10% finishes about 67% of the time. So we'll see. It might need a bit of tweaking still to try and raise both of those, but we'll see how we get on.
Fair enough.
Finally, we're going to get on to we're going to get on to upcoming events. So unless we've had any more questions, let's have a look. How often does the ratings update? The PDGA ratings update on the 2nd Tuesday of every month, and take into account any events which have finished or had their tournament reports submitted prior to the Sunday before the Tuesday, and that's American time. So you've got to kind of adjust that for New Zealand. So
I saw that Jack Mooker commented or asked, "How about a Wellington disc golf versus Ultimate match, or vice versa?" Which I think could be a bit of fun, and it could be definitely possible, considering how many Ultimate players are dabbling in disc golf these days.
Yeah, we should. I'll put a note out. I'll have a chat with a few people. You've got some contacts as well.
Hmm.
It's funny. I think the strongest ultimate player is not necessarily the strongest disc golfers, and certainly vice versa. So
Hmm.
we'll see what happens there. Um, let's have a look to see if we've had any more. You and us with marshals and umpires and ultimate be more to do with the pace and number of players on the pitch and need to reduce delays from waiting on group calls.
I don't think so. From my experience in Ultimate games with no marshals, with no observers, do you still have time limits on the amount of time you can have discussing the call with the people that were involved?
Yeah, yeah,
And the spirit of the game is to try and resolve these calls as quickly as possible. So
yeah.
I don't think it's about pace.
Yeah, and certainly at the higher end at World Championships, etc. I think it's 45 seconds you've got to discuss, and if you don't get on with it, there are observers there who will blow whistles and say get on with it, or tell you to, or you get a penalty for not reaching a decision in time. So yeah, yes, and no. I can see that there. Thank you,
Mm.
Ewan. Let's have a look. I don't think there are any more questions. So we'll get on to the upcoming events. Let's have a look. So upcoming events this month, we've got Charters Bay Charge, which is this Sunday. Before that, on Saturday, we've got Hardcore Heiser. So make sure you get along to Hardcore Park if you're in Wellington this weekend on the Saturday. And then next week, there's heats going on. We've got Te Upako, the Wellington Club Day on the Saturday, Trilogy Challenge down in Christchurch, and also the Armageddon Disc Golf Festival in Nelson, so which is a New Zealand Disc Golf Tour event, 50-point tour event, if you can get down there as well. And then also Deep South Doubles, which is also the same weekend, presumably in Invercargill. Down there, so good stuff. There's also the opening week of the Berhampore 200 as well, the 10-week league for Berhampore Hills Sanctioned League on Sunday afternoon. Week after that, Christchurch Fling and Hosker, hosted by Sweet Chain Music, down in Hikoikoi on the Saturday. 2 weeks after that is Moonbase in Twizel. Then North Island Champs, still a bit of a question mark, pending alert levels on that one. Fingers crossed it goes ahead. Really looking forward to going up to that if we can, if alert levels allow. And the Wednesday after is the first Wednesday of the Wellington Midweek Spring League, which is an 8-week midweek league on a Wednesday up at Harcourt Park. 6:30 is when it starts on the 3rd of November for 8 weeks. The last one is the Wednesday just before Christmas. Following that in early November is the Tauranga Extreme, which is the same weekend as November's Hosker. And then there's the Bros for Change Charity Classic on the 13th and 14th of November in Christchurch. Week after that is Faultline Fury. Week after that is Wahitapu. And the week after that is Match Play in Inglewood. So it's all go as we get into springtime. I'm certainly looking forward to many of those events. Jack, I know you're looking forward to many of those events.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I've heard rumors recently that the Christchurch Fling is getting another course.
I think so. Yeah, I heard this as well. And if you can find Flexline Media's Instagram story, then you might grab a quick. I think it's a quick preview. They did a quick screen flash, a little teaser for us on a course map. So yeah, take a look at that and see if you can work it out for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we've got for you today. Next week we'll be bringing you the results of the Charteris Bay Charge, and I'll have a new guest co-host. But all that remains for me to say this week is, Jack, thank you so much for joining us this week and for the last 3 weeks. It's been a pleasure to have you co-host, yeah, I'm sure we'll definitely have you on again very soon.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for the opportunity. It's been fantastic to talk some disc golf. It's one of the biggest subjects in my life, apart from my son. So yeah, it's just been really enjoyable to talk about it and to interact with all the fans and the chat. So thank you.
Lovely. Okay. Have a great weekend. Anybody playing disc golf, very best of luck to everybody playing in the Charteris Bay Charge, but especially the Wellingtonians. I know that Mitch Hudson's going down, Shannon Garton's going down, and there's a few others, I think, from Wellington, who are going. My apologies if I've not mentioned your name. Certainly, Mitch and Shannon are going. I don't know if there's anyone else. Doesn't look like it. Anyway, very best of luck to those two. Have a lovely weekend and a lovely week, everybody. See you next time.